everyone. Thanks for tuning into another show. Today's conversation is about what becomes possible when you treat leave as a priority, not just a compliance requirement, not an administrative burden, a true priority, really something that is designed with intention, built around the employee and their experience, and also measured for the outcomes that it produces. Research shows there's a clear difference between organizations that prioritize leave and those that don't, and the implications around it. And today we're joined with the Tilt CEO, Jen Henderson, to help us break this all down. Jen, thanks again for joining me.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, this is going to be good. Let's start high level like we did last time. What's the difference between treating leave as just a mere process and actually prioritizing it as a meaningful part of the employee experience? What does this shift really change for an organization?
I think the short answer is the employees who choose to stay and the employees who choose to go. So leave, historically, if we go all the way back to the early days of passing FMLA legislation, was quite literally written as a compliance box to check in the employee life cycle. That's just not true anymore. So when you think about still treating leave like a compliance box to check, you're going to have the result of employees who feel as though they are navigating a compliance cold, archaic box to check, and not humans, and not a person who is going through arguably one of the most emotionally charged parts of their life. So the leave experience should be thought through in the same lens of, how do you want your employee to talk about your company behind closed doors? How do you want your employee to describe their leave experience to their friends? Because they will, I promise you, I've heard it millions of times. And how do you want your employee to talk about their experience on the day that they come back? Are they excited to come back? Are they already looking for something else? It's a very intentional cause and effect employee life cycle moment.
Absolutely. And I think your particular story, Jen, with leave is so fascinating, and because you've seen both sides of seeing leave as a priority and also seeing leave as something that's not a priority and just a process.
Yeah.
What did that experience that you went through showed you, and how did it help really form and shape what we're doing here at Tilt?
The Tilt origin story has been shared many times, but I think in direct answer to your question, what it showed me and taught me is that I'm, as an employee, expendable. And that happened twice. And that happened by employers that I previously had thought valued me as a human and as an individual. And very clearly, actions did not match words in the time that a leave came to be necessary. So the fuel that that has given me for 9 years of doing this work is enormous. And I truly do see it as a gift for a lot of reasons. But suffice it to say that that lived experience that I had, number one, was not unique. It happens all the time. It happened to several of my colleagues and friends. So I knew that there was enough of a problem that if I were to dedicate the next chapter of my life to creating a different opportunity, a different way to solve it, there would be a lot of people lining up to at least give it a shot. So my lived experience of leaves gone wrong is illustrative of, unfortunately, what many, many, many people go through in leave of absences. And it is also our touchstone at Tilt to do the work that we do every day, because for me, I was lucky in that I had a partner who could pick me up and was my safety net. That is not the case for everyone who goes on a leave, and leave gone wrong. And this is not hyperbolic. It ruins lives at times. And that is, and has been, Tilt's North Star for 9 years. How do we help as many people as fast as possible to have a supportive and fair and as stress-free as we can make it leave? Because life is too short. It's just too short. And having this type of an employee event have the catastrophic events that it can is just not necessary.
I love that. And it's such a meaningful and driving purpose into what we do here every day, and wanting to help as many people as we can with whatever life circumstances might look like for them.
Yeah.
And when leave is truly prioritized, it makes the world a difference. People enjoy being able to take the time off that they need so they can come back recharged. And when leave is prioritized, one of the key areas where it shows up is whether employees stay, which we hinted at this a little bit. Jen, what does prioritizing leave really do for an organization's ability to hold on to its people and to have them stay with the company for longer?
You don't have unending list of opportunities as an employer to truly show that you care about your employee and their humanity and who they are as a person. It's not when you give them a paycheck, although I'm sure some employers, as I have at times, wish that was a demonstration. It's not. It's not necessarily the benefit stack that you stand up. Again, I know I've been there and know employers that wish that it was. The reality is that matters the most when these life events emerge. And so that is your time. That is your opportunity to show up in the way that all of these other components of how you've structured the org are nice, but they're not being put to the pressure test, is how I would say it. Leave, you're being put to the test. That is really where you are either going to be in alignment with the talk that you've had amongst some of these other structures and scaffoldings that you put together, or you're not. I've found that employers very often are potentially misinformed as to how a leave experience scenario platform partnership, number one, could be astronomically expensive. It's not. Could increase the leave utilization in an organization. It does not. Could open the door for nefarious use of leave or leave abuse. It does not. It simply creates the opportunity for your organization to show up for the employee when it matters the most. And that is not always predictable. It is, as I said, not something that you can count on happening many times as an employee life cycle. But when it shows up, man, and you do it right, the impact that makes to engagement, retention probability, output is, I would argue, immeasurable. I've seen data say it's 10x. I would argue it's potentially immeasurable because it matters so much. Mm-hmm. Is that employer there for me when my mom dies? How are they there for me? How did I feel when they were there for me? That's going to determine everything when I turn my attention back to returning.
And those things stick. They remember all of those moments. Yes. And if they don't have a good experience, that's one of the things that they're going to carry with them. So it even goes beyond retention when a company begins to prioritize leave. How does the leave experience shape how employees show up and perform once they come back? Because it also plays a role in that too.
Yeah, man. Returning from a leave is no joke. Returning from a leave, I don't care what kind of leave it is. I don't care what kind of unique employee you are or company you work for. It is no joke. And the reason that I believe very strongly that reentry is the most important part of the leave life cycle is you've changed. Very simply, you've changed in some way, shape, or form. It is very uncommon that a leave does not leave a lasting imprint on you, no pun intended, for any number of reasons. So coming back into a role and as an employee expecting it to be the same, or as an employer expecting your employee to be the same, 99.9% of the time doesn't work. So, we encourage employers and employees to think about this in the same way they think about welcoming a new employee. How are you creating that first 90-day experience intentionally and with thought and with specificity to that person? That is very, very simply the same as coming back from a leave. It is not giving you your user access and turning on your systems again and getting your calendar back up. It is not. It is definitively, unequivocally not that. It is a reentry. And it really needs to be treated that way. And especially we see employers go through so much work creating great policies, having a systemic way of going about leave, having great communication leading up to and during leave, and then completely blow it on the reentry and essentially throw the keys at the employee and say, good to have you back. Here's your list of everything that you've missed. Get back to work. And it is just, it's pretty amazing to me that all of that work just pretty much gets thrown in the trash can because that reentry is just so important.
Mm-hmm. And part of that process too is not just within the performance and the retention, but it's also in the engagement and how engaged they stay with in their work and their time with the company. How does prioritizing leave in the sense show up in something like engagement? And why does that matter as a business outcome?
I think we go back to the connective tissue that you build with an employee and employer during a leave of absence that shows up in the decisions that an employee makes post-return when done right in the most pervasive and potentially even unconscious ways. It's, have I found, I like to call it the extemporaneous effort button. Have I found this button that this employee goes into overdrive, goes into 10x mode, goes into drinking the Kool-Aid headspace? That is not easy to attain, and that is not easy to maintain. And it is absolutely an output of a leave gone right. It is, this employer showed up for me not only from a clarity of experience, from a support standpoint, from a communication standpoint, from a genuine care, especially in today's day and age. We all have our radar up right now about what is real and what is not. Absolutely. And an employer who genuinely cares, you are going to, without question, I would bet everything I have on it, get compounding output, engagement, and impact back from that employee when they return. It's just unequivocal that that will happen.
Yeah. And let's say there is an HR leader who's watching this right now, who wants to move towards these outcomes, these results, and begin to prioritize leave in a way that maybe they haven't before. Where do they start? This is, in some cases, for some companies, uncharted territory. Where do they begin to navigate these waters?
Yeah, you got to know where you are before you figure out where you want to go. So my advice to an HR rep who knows that could be better, who wants to make it better, is do an inventory. Where are you at today? What is the workflow? Go get some input and stories from employees who have been through it recently and get a really clear understanding of your starting point. And then really start to think about the feasibility of where you can start to tweak some dials. Because say you're going from an organization that has 12 weeks of paid leave and you want to propose for 20. Is that even financially viable? Don't hope for the moon if there's no chance that that's going to be attained. So know your guardrails, I guess is the best way to say it. And then know what matters most to your organization. I think that there's inputs like, what does your employee population typically consist of? Are you a remote or are you an in-office type organization? What is it that you're optimizing for? And that's unique to every organization. So be just really clear about what matters most strategically from a business standpoint, where the feasibility is from a guardrail standpoint, where your starting point is, and then dream state, right? What is that proposal that you would be really proud of architecting? What resources would you need to do that? What timeline would you need to do that? But I think above all else, having the data-backed and educated point of view as to what you're starting with, where you want to go, potentially even bringing in some benchmarking if there's maybe a competitive dial that you can turn up in terms of what's the rest of the space looking like. Those are really compelling ingredients to propose a leveling up.
And if our viewers want any more data relating to this, we'll also leave a link to our latest Leave Benchmark report so that they can have a further deep dive into some of these topics that we've already been discussing, both from this video and the one that was recently published. But Jen, let's close this up. What do you want HR leaders to walk away believing about how or what their leave program is capable of?
I would love for an HR professional seeing this video to start to wonder what's possible in a way they've never seen it done before. So this is really a unique time in history to imagine the unimaginable when it comes to leave. We have the tailwinds, as we spoke of in the last session, of the legislation, the employee experience being demanded, the company policy. We have the makings, we have the ingredients to have a leave feel like it's never felt before. And so my hope is that they're inspired and they potentially have unique to their organization ideas that are outside of the box, that are new, that are innovative, to accomplish at the end of the day what I believe is one of the most common reasons HR professionals get into that field of work, which is to help people. And there is, in my very biased opinion, a very few number of times in an employee life cycle that you can truly help as much as you can with a best-in-class leave experience program.